So the Michigan offense heading into this game, they still haven't had that total breakout performance, right? You're scoring 24. You go on the road. You're not really producing as much. You're not ending a lot of these drives, even the ones that they cross midfield and they get into opponent territory. They're not ending them with points as much as they'd like to. They're not picking up the fourth downs when they decide to go for it. You're having some issues in short yardage, but you should have Justice Haynes back most likely in this game, and he will be – he's huge. I mean, he's a total game changer for this offense, as good as Jordan Marshall was last week. And I would call him a game changer in that game against Washington with how hard he ran and just the production, 133 yards. But Justice Haynes, leading the Big Ten right now with 117.5 rushing yards per game, would certainly be huge to have him back. Blake Frazier is your left tackle this weekend. His third career start, because he started two as an extra offensive lineman, but his first as a real, main position player on the offensive line, replacing Evan Link. So, a little bit of you maybe get Haynes back. You lose Evan Link in this game against the Michigan State defense. They're 121st in the country. They're allowing 32.7 points per game, 52nd against the run, 111th against the pass. Your guys' initial thoughts on this matchup here, and Michigan getting their game-changing player back.
Yeah, and Haynes, a 43-yard run or more in 4 of his 6 starts, I think. So it's ridiculous what he brings in terms of explosion, and explosive plays are huge, guys. If you don't have to go 12 plays, and that was one of the things you said about Jordan Marshall, right? This guy, I love this guy. He's going to get his big gain's going to be like 19 or 14 or 13 or something like that. Although he's had a couple big ones himself, including one called back, but you're talking about one of the best in college football in terms of breaking the big run in Haynes. So having him back would be huge, especially because this is not a predictable offense, right? Where you're going to run. Even in the 49-0 game, Michigan was in a lot of 3rd and longs, 3rd and 9, 3rd and 14, and were able to pick those up. And that's the reason that they were able to keep drives alive, because Michigan State was stacking the box. They can't do that in this game because Michigan's going to throw the ball. Chip Lindsey is unpredictable, which is bad for this Michigan defense, in my opinion. You can't guess, right? You're going to have to play everything straight up. You can't really play to stop the run because their pass defense is so bad. I watched a handful of Michigan State games this year where in every game there are receivers running wide open where you're like, where the hell is the defensive back? Not even in the picture, right? And Michigan has an advantage there, especially with Andrew Marsh emerging. If they get their tight ends back, which they should, Marlon Klein and Hogan Hansen should be back this week. So that gives you a couple more options for Bryce Underwood, who had his best game. Think about this, fellas. He should have been 25 of 27 for about 275, 280 yards last week. As it was, he still completed 70-something% of his passes. He was on the mark. As long as he doesn't try to do too much. And again, this is an in-state game, so it means more for these in-state guys. They're going to be just fine. So I think this is a game. And Clay, you said in your staff pick, and I was thinking the same thing. Man, do I really want him to pick? We'll get to our picks, but are they going to score 30 or more points in this game? I think Michigan State's defense is that bad. And this really doesn't feel like a true road game, right? Because it's right down the road. They'll probably go in the morning on a bus, so they don't have to stay in that crappy town that night, with all due respect. And I think we're going to see a really good performance from this Michigan offense. And I love Blake Frazier at left tackle because his dad played here. He understands the Michigan State rivalry. There's a little bit more want to against these guys and the Aiden Hutchinsons and players like that. So I think it's going to be a fun one.
Yeah, Michigan State has played 5 Power 4 teams this year. The point totals allowed 40, 45, 38, 38, 38. If Michigan takes care of the football, this has the chance to be their most complete offensive performance yet. Now, last week, you go back and you watch the game, you're a drop here, you're a 4th down conversion there, away from that being far more lopsided than the final score would even indicate.
Missed field goal, too. Yeah.
Missed field goal as well. You can't, even in a rivalry game, despite how Michigan State might look on tape, which is not good, by the way, you can't leave that sort of margin for error out there, especially on the road, especially away from home. The last thing that you want to do is you go 3 and out on your, let's just say Michigan State gets the ball first on offense. They go down and score. You come back and go 3 and out. All of a sudden, the crowd that is there maybe just more so hoping for the best, you start to add a little bit of juice. And once there's a little bit of juice, you don't want that to spiral on you. So I think a quick start is very important for them. If they get Haynes back, if they finally get these tight ends back, it feels like all of these pieces might be clicking together. And I've said for a couple weeks now, even with the point totals, even in the USC game, I feel like this Michigan offense is really close to a breakout. And the biggest step forward I thought they took last week was that Bryce Underwood was extremely comfortable just taking whatever the defense will give him. Well, this defense that Michigan State will put out there will probably give him almost anything that they want to dial up. So I feel pretty optimistic that this is a big step forward for them. But also, like we said before, it's been a bit of a struggle on the road in making those plays and putting these teams away. So that's what I'll be looking for this week. But this is a great spot for them to finally sort of click back into place.
And one of the reasons could be, like, I mentioned a lot of the numbers there of Michigan just hasn't quite had that, what you were just talking about. But you've had Andrew Marsh, who's just, looks like an incredible receiver, freshman or not. He's been a starter now and in the lineup and pretty much in on every snap for 12 quarters. 6 of those quarters, you haven't had Justice Haynes along with him. And if you have those two working together, where now you got more of a dynamic passing game because Marsh is a big play waiting to happen. He's been really consistent. He hasn't dropped the pass this year, all those things. And you have the run game with a home run threat like Justice Haynes, and you're seeing what Donovan McCulley's done. If your tight ends are healthier, the offensive line is getting incrementally better, I would say, especially run blocking. That was, stats don't always mean everything, but that was a top 10 rush defense last week in the Washington game that they faced. I don't think they were anywhere near that in terms of what they really are, but still, you're seeing some incremental progress there. So there's reason to believe it can get better. It's not just going to be 24 points every game. So, to kind of push back on my own point from earlier, this Michigan State defense does not get any pressure. It's been the biggest thing. And you watched it against Indiana, right? They had some plays where they stacked up the run. And then those same defensive linemen on a passing down just could not get off their guy. And Fernando Mendoza was back there with a ton of time when they didn't run those quick hitting RPOs, which they live off of. And he went 24 of 28 for 332 yards and 4 touchdowns last week. So pretty much everything worked. But when they did have those longer dropbacks, there was a lot of time, 122nd in the country in pressure rate, 27.9% of the time they get pressure. They're banged up in the secondary. Both safeties were out by the end of last game. So there's reason to believe that Michigan can take advantage of some of that this week as well. Like, they're solid against the run, but if it starts to get away from you and Haynes is ripping off, 15, 18 yarders and then maybe one big one, then it all could fall apart. And Michigan does have that big game.
Yeah. And that's pretty much, what we've been saying. It's like, this is a bad defensive football team, right? You better put up points. You better move the ball. There are no excuses here. I don't care about the emotion and they're coming to play hard. You better match their intensity. You better play hard. You better play a really good football game. If you do that, you win this game flat out. You move the ball and you put up a ton of points. So that's really what it boils down to. We can sit there and break down the X's and O's all we want to, but there is going to be so much there for the taking. Protect the football, do your jobs, get out of there with a win.
And like you said, the pass rush, I would say their front, at least from a talent and production perspective, probably more akin to what they saw against Nebraska, similar to Washington, but I think Washington's still probably better. So again, this just feels like a tailor-made spot for that game we've been waiting for out of this Michigan offense.
Yeah. And if Underwood has time, you could see another big game from him. You're seeing him get more comfortable, it feels like, by the week. And when it comes to him and the offense and everyone in general, they've played in a lot of road environments. This will not be anywhere near the toughest they've played in to this point. That would be Oklahoma. You've also gone to Nebraska. You won that game. USC got loud at different times, but wasn't all that crazy. So you're getting used to playing in all these different sorts of environments. And this one being their 4th road game in 8 games, you don't love it because you've dropped 2 of those, but you at least can bank those experiences and use them to your own advantage.